Okay, so what are we looking at here? These are the two knives that I had really kind of decided on to give to my nephew, and then let him choose. I was originally just going to give him the ZTO 308 and say, here you go. He's a fireman. So this goes back to a couple videos ago. I'll go ahead and link that up there. And I thought about a few things. You know, this is a $280 knife. This is a $20 knife. This is the 8010, the cold steel version, not the custom. And, I was like, hey, if this one gets lost in a fire or whatever, or just in a truck or whatever, not a big deal. I was like, you know what? I wanted to have something good quality as well as American made. I'm being a fireman. And along comes swinging axe Gus, and he basically demonstrates to me how good the Shaman is in gloves. And I kind of forgot. I am so used to not wearing gloves and utilizing the normal compression lock method. But he's like, wait a minute. Do that. And I was like, of course. So yeah, this one's actually really good in gloves, just basically doing that flick and going there. So I went ahead and added this one into the mix. And then at Christmas time, I met with my nephew and said, you know what, you get to pick whichever of these you want. And we did all sorts of stuff. And he says, well, I kind of like this material, the micarta, definitely. We actually really dipped it in water to see. I showed him how sticky it was. So if he's dealing with water or a greasy situation, micarta is going to be the best choice. But what he really said he needs is serrations. And you'll notice none of these knives have serrations. So I said, wait a minute, I do have a knife, another Shaman with serrations. So I showed him this one. He said, that's perfect. I need something that can cut through cables. It's going to be nearly, indestructible. Something that I can really beat up. It can cut through any sort of rubber, plastic, cabling, steel, light cabling, Ethernet cables in ceilings and something like that. So I was like, oh, how about this? And then I'll put that in with micarta. So I'm taking and bastardizing the M4 Blade HQ Spyderco Shaman, and I'm going to go ahead and put in, whether I do a scale swap or actually blade swap, I'm going to take a look at it because I actually wanted to repurpose the M4 in another, for another build. And I'm going to see if the blade swap works well, and I'm just going to basically take that blade, the serrated one, and go to there. And that's going to give him what he wants. Plus, that'll also stay sharper much longer. If you've ever dealt with Microsoft, you can tell what field I work in, Spyderco's, spider teeth edge, those last a long time, like 10 years before they need sharpening. You can touch them up very easy on their sharp makers. So I'm not going to go ahead and bore you. I'll link it at the end. But I am going to actually end up doing a 3-way swap, kind of like I did with the Civivi, because my project knife, what I want the black hardware in with the sharp dress knife scales, but I want to keep the stonewashed S30V with that one, and then I'm going to work out what I have to get the serrated blade in with the micarta scales, or they just swap those over. But because I do want the blackened hardware with the sharp dress knives, I'm not sure. I'm going to do whichever one makes sense, and I'll have some sort of massively time-lapsed video footage of this. Who knows? Like I said, I'll just slap it on the end of this, and then I'll have a quick discussion once I'm done with the knives. Okay, so I just ended up putting the old stonewash blade back in the G10. So, like a G10. Centering is perfect. Action's perfect on this one. That one now becomes a new project, I guess. I decided to go ahead and move the M4 into the, with my sharp dress knives, Arctic Storm carbon fiber. So this one became my premium. And it is also perfectly centered. Action's pretty good. In fact, actually quite good. So yeah, I now have the M4 with the carbon fiber, and we'll go ahead and move that aside, and we ended up with essentially what a fireman wants. So this is literally the knife that is probably as good as you can get, short of having other stuff, but it has the necessaries. It has the best grip in all sorts of wet and strain situations with the micarta, and then it also has the beefiness of a Shaman, a fairly thick blade stock, and then it also has the serrations for going through stuff and staying sharp. So this one ended up also with essentially perfect centering and perfect action. So that is what a fireman wants, and that is what a fireman gets. Just to demonstrate the difference in cutting of materials for the shaman here, I'm just going to go ahead and carefully. So you got a fairly thick amount of material, and that one just about tore through it. Let's go ahead and do the non-serrated one. I'll do the other end of this. This is the rag I was using for cleaning the knife when I did the... And the irony is, this one, just because this has never been used, this M4 knife is laser sharp. So you can kind of look at that. It does less tearing. But if I had to go through something like, I don't know, like let's say this chapstick, I'm wondering if I could even go through it. I can go through it a little bit. Let's see if the serrations can actually bust through the chapstick a little bit better. Oh yeah. Yeah, the serrations are going to get you on any sort of slick surface. I would definitely choose the serrations for like having to cut through a chapstick. Take a look at that. It was way easier and just way more aggressive there with that saw-like action. So yeah, just a little, wanted to add that on, and that, you know, just kind of a demonstration for those people, because not a lot of people in the EDC community use serrations. Serrations have their definite purpose: ropes, boats, and fires. Take care.